Welcome to another lesson in our ongoing Retail Store Innovative Training Series. I'm Bill Scott, President of Store Report. Today I would like to talk to you about how I started and what led me to the belief that the convenience store industry was in danger of reaching end of life if we did nothing to change it to meet the changes occurring in the 21st century. I began my business in 1980 working with oil jobbers. For those of you who are unfamiliar with oil jobbers, in the 80s, they were small local businesses representing major oil and gas distributors that sold gasoline, diesel, and lubricants to farm accounts, service stations, and convenience stores. Some jobbers ran convenience stores themselves, or sold fuel to convenience stores outright or on consignment. In the mid-80s, jobbers became super jobbers by buying up smaller jobbers. Some smaller jobbers still exist today, but mainly those that evolved into the convenience store industry. In 1988, IBM released a new computer called AS400 with a new operating system, making it possible for companies to evolve with them. By then, small businesses began to invest in smaller, less capable computers running Microsoft products. But I saw the hidden cost of those small computers immediately and stayed with the superior AS400 platform. To give you an idea of the differences between IBM mainframe computers and small Microsoft-driven PCs, there is no need to manage an AS400 network. It manages itself. In the past 40 years, I have been using the IBM mainframe models. I cannot remember losing one piece of data or never being unable to work for more than one day in rare cases where IBM needed to service the machine. The only real threats came when we were forced to leave the IBM integrated environment and connect to third-party providers like AT&T and Microsoft PC networks. Every industry has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in every case, it was because they ignored holes in their environment and either died outright or had their market taken away from them by the next leader in the industry. Even IBM was not immune. They handed Microsoft the small business computer market in 1982, briefly tried to retake it in 1986, and finally sold their small business computer division to the Chinese. As the internet became more prominent in the 90s, doomed retailers made all kinds of excuses as to why the internet would not affect them. In the 90s, I kept a journal of everywhere I saw the convenience store industry was flawed and set out to design a system that would correct the problems. In 1993, I set out to solve the problem of getting the store's store reports back to the office by 9 a.m. daily and designed a solution to solve the problem. Over the next 10 years, I began to accumulate more knowledge as to what was wrong with the convenience store industry. One piece of the plan required us to use the internet. The internet came into existence in 1969, but it wasn't until 1993 that the internet was able to accommodate the public. For example, the major POS systems were not internet capable, so we had to design a piece of equipment that allowed POS systems to connect to the internet so we could capture the sales in a real-time environment. We held a demonstration at a customer's office where we were able to capture sales at headquarters as they occurred, allowing us to track fuel and non-fuel grocery sales while keeping track of the exact number of units available inside the store. The major pump manufacturer and proprietary POS distributor took our shared customer's side and claimed it was an impossibility, a trick, and they had no interest in getting involved. In the year 2003, it became apparent to me that the convenience store industry was totally controlled by grocery suppliers, pump manufacturers, and the National Association of Convenience Stores, better known as NACS. And in that framework, taking the convenience stores into the 21st century would be an impossibility without the cooperation of the reigning sources of power. Seeing the waste of time, manpower, and money that was acting as a governor to the limit the amount of money the convenience store operator was capable of earning. I would have to solve the problems of inventory cost, overstock, out of stocks, spoilage, and more importantly, the severe handicap of using their working capital to store massive quantities of stock that was responsible for profits of, say, 2 to 4%. I became convinced that, among other things, in order to do what needed to be done, I would need to provide the store operator with the ability to collect his or her own sales data from the POS systems in real time, and convince them that they needed to break off their dependency from third-party providers and take control of their own destiny. Else the day would come when someone would come along who would see this hole in the industry's environment and take the industry right out from under their noses. How else could we help them manage their stores and design a plan to get those profits up to 5 to 9% where they needed to be in order to stay in business? Here are the things I knew at the time. Assuming a store contains 5,000 unique brands, 30% of a store's inventory, 1,500 brands, account for all of the store's profits. 10 to 15% of a store's inventory, that's 500 to 750, are dead. Yet it will stay in the store until it is noticed and thrown out. The primary reason they are not thrown out earlier is because the missing items will show up in the next category audit as missing, and the store manager will be docked their bonuses or fired. The remaining 55% to 60% is a mystery. It might be making a tiny profit or costing the store money, or it might just be sitting there losing 2.75% each and every month just by being there due to a lack of operating capital, relentless carrying cost, and relying on third parties to run their stores. In order to track sales properly, what you must do, you have to know what you are selling, and therefore everything that passes over your sales counter must have a barcode. If there is not one on the package, there are a dozen ways to solve that problem, and you must keep the scanned data for a minimum of 12 months. Technology impact analysis. Train your employees to report everything new that you may not be aware of. Log it and bring it up at a weekly upper-level management meetings for discussion. Develop a flexible hierarchical structure, laying out your organizational structure and who is responsible for each action that occurs within that structure. Move to consignment as quickly as possible. Make it a rule to not buy merchandise you have to pay for before you can sell it. The practice of buying ahead only looks good on paper. Allow your computer to generate your orders through the use of turn rates, covering a period no more than the past 90 days. Use that information to weed out slow sellers and non-sellers. You should be able to reduce your stock by more than 50% in the first 90 days. In other words, if you currently have $6 million tied up in 10 stores, I can show you how to put $3 million back into your cash in 90 days or less. Once I had a customer tell me that lowering his inventory made his stores look picked over. Using inventory for decoration is not the answer. Once I told a customer to replace dead stock with a box of rocks. They filled up space, didn't cost anything, and would never go out of date. He had 3 beautiful daughters at home, gave them a bucket of rocks, 3 or 4 colors of paint, and told them to paint them. Then he sold the rocks in his stores for 25 cents a piece. Be creative, but don't go overboard. I met a convenience store operator who had a large display case in his store containing swords, knives, throwing stars, and all sorts of martial arts paraphernalia. That is so wrong on so many levels, I won't even go there. Remove seasonable items from the store until the sales time comes around. Get them out of your storerooms. They create clutter, hazardous working conditions, and stationary clutter is an invitation for mice and roaches to live in them. Then eat off your candy gondolas during the night. Remember, suppliers make their money on how much they can sell you. If you turn a blind eye to what they put in your stores, what do you suppose the outcome will be? Once I was taking inventory in the coolers and a driver walked in with a dolly filled to the top with popular soft drinks. It just so happened I was in the middle of counting the overstock of that very product. I asked him, "What are we supposed to do with these?" To which he responded with, "This is your order," and walked out. While me and my assistant were trying to figure out where to put the new stock, he was back again with another stack of stock. "What are these?" I asked. "These are the free ones you got from the bottle cap contest," he said. "Well, why don't you leave the free ones and take the other ones back?" He thought for a second and had the perfect answer. "That's not how the system works." Once a soft drink driver came to the front door with an 8-foot train of soft drinks. This time the manager ran out of the office and said, "I don't have the space to put all this stuff." The driver said, "The pre-salesman told me that if you didn't accept the whole order, bring it all back." The pre-salesman knew there were products in that order that the store was running out of, so he threatened the retailer through the driver to tell the customer if he did not accept the product he did not need, he couldn't get what he needed. Pre-salesmen whose purpose was to help you stock your stores had become dictators, and since the store manager had no authority to refuse products that were critical to have in the store, he was forced to receive cases of non-selling off-brand junk to fill up his stockroom. Suppliers don't know what sells in your stores. How could they? A few years ago, while counting items in one of our customer stores, I noticed what appeared to be an out-of-balance situation involving Ben & Jerry's New York Chunk and Cherry Garcia ice cream. So I looked through the data, and here's what I discovered. The store sold 7 pints of New York Fudge Chunk per day. They had 22 pints left in the freezer. Odds were they would run out before the next delivery. The same store sold .2666 pints of Cherry Garcia per day and had 35 pints in the freezer, enough to last for 131 days. If the supplier had swapped 121 days of Cherry Garcia for 5 days of New York Chunk, he would have delivered the same number of pints, but the store would most likely have sold more pints in all, resulting in higher profits. Maybe customers were tired of buying 131-day-old Cherry Garcia. Who knows? The point is, the driver doesn't possess this knowledge or the inclination to care one way or the other. He comes there simply to unload his truck and leave a bill. Now here's the funny part. In a store located a few miles away in the same general area, the situation was reversed, proving stores in different neighborhoods may have an entirely different market to sell to. It's little things like this that stand in the way of convenience stores making a decent profit. Avoid shippers. Shippers are responsible for huge amounts of overstock because manufacturers give you a deal for storing excess inventory and bolstering their P&Ls. If you follow the rules of operating your stores on consignment, you should avoid receiving mystery stock in your stores. Cover your overstock by limiting your order to the greatest number of units sold in one delivery cycle over the past 90 days. If your computer tells you to order 20 and you sold 22 in one delivery cycle 60 days ago, your order to should not exceed 22 items. We will discuss how your computer determines your order later. I want to thank you for watching our latest video, and I hope you'll subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Until then, we hope to see you again soon.